Hey everybody, you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and I'm your host, Andrew Davis, and this episode is brought to you by my sponsors, BCW Supplies. I like my comic books to be protected, and BCW Supplies has bags, boards, long boxes to protect your comics, and you can use Pop Anime Comics to get 10% off your entire order. You know, obviously inflation's hitting, and you might as well save yourself some money as well as support this show. So without further ado, and I'm not going to bore everybody else with the rest of my sponsors here, I have with me comic creator, writer, con presenter. I don't know what else you've done, JayDee Rosario. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. What's up, Streamland? How's everybody doing out there today?
Yeah, no, I am stoked to have you on because you shot a message to me, and I'm like, yo, you know, Cap, and you should have just said, oh yeah, you just had JayDee on. Instead, that would have been, Calder. That would have been much faster, you know. That's all I'm gonna say on that point.
Bro, you know what I mean? You're in this world for so many years. You meet so many different people. You don't know who knows who, you know. So it's like, oh, Cap's one of my boys, but JD's one of my boys too, and it's like, all right, cool, man. You know what's up, man? You know, we're people of each other's people, you know.
Yeah, no, it's very funny who knows who and who has problems with each other. I've had people on my show who get along and they didn't even know that they were on right after each other, which is even funnier. And then, but it's also really tricky because obviously it's a very small world. But I don't want to get into all of that because I do want to talk about what's going on with you right now. We're in the middle of Storm Chasers, issues 1 to 8. And so, what is the basic premise? Because there is 7 issues prior to issue 8.
Yeah. All right. So the overall story, it's about a retired hero who returns to the team she once led, and she's looking for them to help her rescue her daughter. But the team is not running the way they used to, right? The team's a mess. The team's in shambles. So the only chance that her daughter has at survival is if she can rebuild them again, right? And hopefully in enough time to see her kid again. So that's the all encompassing part of the story. But you know, there's build up. So when you first open up the first issue, you're like, oh, what's going on? You know, why are these villains being opened up all over the place? Why are these heroes not really getting along? And that's just leading up to the mess of the whole story.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into this because I actually think this is super fascinating. But where did this idea even come from? Because it's not just a superhero story. It's very much an issue of a dysfunctional superhero team and getting them back to functionality, or maybe not getting them back to functionality, because you go either way at this point, or there could be a faction break off. And I'm just planting seeds here, but it's a fascinating idea because it spins and sort of turns the super team upside its head.
But you're picking up on the seeds, and that's the awesome thing, right? I dropped those seeds as I was writing this, and not saying that I was doing this perfectly, you know. When I first started doing these books, they were ash cans, way back when, 12-page stories. Little, I don't know if you know the people watching know what ash cans are, but they're pretty much, you know, home printed comic books, right? That you flipped on their side and you're busting out at cons trying to act like Oliver Twist, you know, may have some more, right? Trying to show off the books. So the first 3 issues were like that, and then from issue 4 on, I built up full 24-page stories behind it, and once we got to issue 7, it was like, man, you know, I kind of feel like I'm at a loss because here's this really awesome chunk of story, and the first 3 issues, I look into it, needed some help. So we did what I called the redux, right? It wasn't a reboot. It was just a retelling of those original stories, but expanded from 12-page issues to 24-page blots. And we were able to add a little bit more characterization, interaction between some of the characters, and explore some of the seeds that were dropped off later on in the issues and plant them to make you wonder, where are they going to go, right? Are they going to belong? Like you said, Is this going to break up? Are they going to stay together? And if you've been, you've been checking it out, there's a hell of a lot of stuff that happens in those first 7 issues.
So before we even get into that,
Uh,
and you mentioned something where you did a redux for it and a redo. And one of the things that I find is that people are terrified to want to go back
yeah.
to their original comic. And for whatever reason, either they feel that it's disingenuous to their readers, they also want to build forward, or they don't want to admit saying, hey, I now know 20 more skills 5 years into the business than I did when I first got in, and I was a young, stupid kid when I first got in. No offense to anybody, we all start somewhere. And I think most people, if you do it the correct way, you learn a lot more in year 5 than you
Oh,
knew
hell
in
yeah.
year.
Hell yeah.
And
It's
so
funny
what
you're
was
saying that. Year
yeah,
5 is really where I picked stuff up, because it wasn't just the first 3 issue ash cans of Storm Chasers. I had another spin-off title called Dragon Storm, and that was an ash can as well, right? But it costs money too, dude. And it's like, uh, do you want to move forward, which is always where you want to point the needle? Yeah, but at the same time, do you want to show the people that have been supporting you all this time, look what I've learned based on how much you all have been supporting me up to this point?
yeah, this actually raises a very good question. So obviously, when you're producing a comic, and I'm a stocks guy, I'm an investing type of guy. If you're starting a business, you need startup money, you need seed money. And I don't think a comic is any other way how to look at it. You need seed money to do it. And obviously, it becomes a real tricky situation where, do I go and obviously have an IP, and do I further develop this IP for my readers? They want to see something more, maybe for other merchandising opportunities. Maybe we're redoing this. Maybe we're going to shoot out a trade. Or do I say, hey, look, I'm now running this, and my viewers or readers or clan, for lack of a better word, wants the next chapter. And it gets tricky because that's a real business decision.
Oh yeah.
And it's also sport. And it's also I don't think the issue at that point is, it's not that I'm not going to do issue 8. It's I'll do issue 8 6 months from now. First thing, I do issue 8 today and maybe never do the redact, or I'll do the redact in 8 months from now. It can be more of a time issue versus an if issue, if that makes any sense. And so, because I think this is where this gets tricky, and also, most people in indie comics, this is not their full-time job.
No.
And it's also a lot of capital is being deployed.
You mentioned stocks, and just like comic books, you want to diversify your portfolio, right? You want to have a catalog that can pick up readers who are interested in different genres. You also brought up, 6 months from now and stuff like that. We had a huge gap in between issues number 7 and issue number 8. One of the reasons is because of our artist, Russ Leach. And this is not a knock, right? Russ is the fucking man. I love Russ, right? But he was working on Doctor Who and Ben 10. And when this is not your full-time job, and that is paying him full-time money, how can I tell him, hey, dude, no, I need you to do this? Nah, man, it's not my place to keep money out of his mouth. You know what I mean? He's got to put food on the table. So I waited just so we can keep up that consistency. And I was lucky enough that we had a large chunk of the community that waited with us. And it shows, they're supporting us, they're sharing us, they're talking about us, they're introducing us to different people. They want to get that word out there. And they're excited that not only is the story continuing, but it's continuing with so much, with a crew of people who are a hell of a lot more educated in what they're doing than when they first started.
Yeah, and I think this is something that also people need to understand in comics. And I was having a conversation with a friend, and she was on, and she says, I want to keep my artist busy. And I was trying to explain to her, look, if you build a good rapport with your artist, and you build, trust, even if your artist gets another gig, you had that artist first. and that artists will always want to return back to if they can, because they want. I find that people are loyal when you treat them well, and that they want to work, and obviously they're going to make time for somebody's project if they have been treated well, or if they find the project to be interesting. I've had artists say, "Hey, look, I'll give you a discount," and I pitch them an idea on a comic because your book sounds awesome, and this is a project I want to be part of. And now, obviously, if all of a sudden we do 20,000, I'm going to make up the difference and pay them what they should be paid. But if they say, "Hey, look, I know that you're first starting, we could work at it on the back end," which is a whole
Right.
nother.
Yes.
But I think that's something that people really need to understand, is that artists, I think, if they really like a project, or they've been there through hell and high water, or they were there before they got Doctor Who and Ben 10, that's another thing too, is certain people don't forget their roots.
Right. I'm lucky that I've got a really nice crew of alumni, right? So besides Russ, who did Ben 10 and he did Doctor Who over in the UK, one of the writers I worked with when I was busy, and he taught me a lot of stuff, was Brandon Easton. Brandon Easton worked on the Thundercats reboot in the 2000s. He did the first season of the Transformers on Netflix that came out recently, that they did 3 seasons of. He worked on Peggy Carter, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he just finished up the Mr. Miracle series right now in DC. Another alumni is Eric S. Brown, and he's a novelist who has a series of books called, I believe it's The Legend of Boggy Creek, and for lack of a better phrase, it's Bigfoot in the swamp, right? And that very first book was turned into a movie on the Sci-Fi Channel, and this is a really great group of people that, yeah, they've moved on, but we still network. We still keep doors open for each other. And whether it's new jobs, new opportunities, new places to eat when you're in a different city doing a con, we still have those types of connections.
Yeah, no, it's very important networking, and obviously, I've taken a different approach to it, because in the last 3 years I haven't been at a con. But when you're interviewing all these people, and obviously we shoot the shit before and after the interview, you get to know people, and you get to know certain people in the industry, and one person leads to another, and then also,
Yeah.
you just have to ask somebody, "Hey." A lot of the time, I just shoot somebody a message, and the only thing that's going to happen to me that's going to be bad is a no. There's been one time somebody has snapped at me for asking me for an interview. And I'm like, okay, somebody's having a bad day. Like,
that's not cool too. And I've had instances also. There's a creator who I won't name, but he's got a name. He's got some stroke, and dude was rude to my wife and my best friend. And that's some serious heat. You know what I mean? That goes beyond a working environment type of deal. And I'll never confront him with the animosity I carry for him, because I don't want my wife to get pissed off at me. But that does mean I still don't have it, in my chest every time I see that SOB. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you a question on this, because my understanding is that some artists, obviously, if an artist is from a foreign country, they might come off as being rude, but they're really not. Their English is not their first language, and so they're very reserved. Also, some artists like to keep their heads in their, I guess, drawings, for lack of a better word, and sort of an asshole to everybody. But if you're an asshole to everybody, well, you're also nice to everybody at the same time.
You're consistent.
But because this is where it gets tricky. But then I've had creators treat me weirdly and be rude to me, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just not going to buy your work anymore, because I'm a strong believer that when I back somebody's Kickstarter now, or I even buy your comic, I sort of want to know who you are as a writer. And I've had some very bad experiences with some people at Marvel, and I don't buy their books they work on, where I am choosing where I deploy my money. and I'm not going to say who, and I'm not going to say exactly what happened, but I vote with my feet. And so I think it's something that is very crucial. And somebody is nice to me, and hopefully, I'm gonna drop a name. I don't know if you know Chuck Peanut by any chance.
Dude, it's all about being genuine to people. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think I'm a writer. I think I'm just a good host, right? And even if you're somebody who, when I'm on this side of the table and you're on the other side of the table, if you're rude, it's like, all right, cool, man. Peace be with you, brother or sister. You know what I mean? I hope you enjoy the rest of the show, or I hope you find some books that you like, whether it's on Kickstarter or whatever. It's not my place to ruin your day, and that's the foundation of how I see everything else, right? If you ruin my day, well, then I got to eat it, and it's up to me and how I handle it. But yeah, dude, when we're at a con or something, and we spoke about this before the show, I'm a con guy, right? And when we're at a con, I got to bring a team of people with me just to tell me to shut up, because it's like there's other people that are coming to the shows and just want to chill or say what's up, or have built up relationships with them in past shows, and here I am, I'm giving maybe a little bit too much time to somebody new, but that's because I'm being a good host, and they got to grab me from the side. Hey, Jay, this person is waiting to see you. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I'm coming. And by the time I get to see that person, there's like 3 or 4 other people waiting to say what's up, and it's like by the end of the show, everybody's made their rounds, and I'm like holding a powwow with 20 or 25 people, and they're trying to push everybody out, and I'm like, but I haven't spent time with these people yet, but I understand also those that have their heads, down on their pads when they're working. We come from geek culture is very introverted, right? There's no denying that. If you understand how to deal with those in the introverted world, those shy people, the mousy people, give them just enough room to feel comfortable. It pays dividends. You know what I mean? I come from a retail background, and one of the lessons I learned was always make sure there's a price on everything. So when you come to my booth, you'll see this big sign that's branded with that Unstoppable Comics logo, and instead of the Unstoppable Comics that's there behind me, there's a price sign, but it's big, so you can see it at a difference, because I know there's people who are just too shy to come up to the table and talk to you, right? But if they see how much a book is worth, and they know they got a couple bucks in their pocket, they'll come up and they'll drop those shekels, and if I'm lucky, they'll give me a nod, they'll say thank you, we'll have a little interaction, but at least I know they're leaving comfortably, right? And I've found a way to facilitate those who live that mousy lifestyle, a little introverted, to try to feel comfortable around me.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. I mean, a lot of artists are that way. And when I got a commission from somebody, and I pretty much said to the guy, "You can't do anything wrong on the book. On this commission, you can't do anything wrong." And my mom was a little bit nervous. I'm like, "He can't do anything wrong on the book." And I don't know if that made it worse or better for her, but I'm like, "You're gonna knock it out of the park. I have complete faith in you that you're gonna knock it out of the park, and I'm not worrying about it." It was Elias Chazudis. And so he did a commission for me, and it was worth every cent that I paid him for it.
Nice.
Great book. A lot of people at that con saw that book. A lot of people were not happy that was my book, because they were showing it to me.
And that's probably one of your prized pieces, right?
Oh, it's not for sale. It's not for sale.
Yeah. It's in the do not move pile, right? This is your cherished baby, right? But it's also because you understand who that artist is, and you appreciate his work. You're happy for the time he gave you, and those who see it, man, that shit pays dividends with them, bro.
It was cool because the company Zenoscope was showing it to me when I was shopping in their booth. I'm like, yeah, I know, guys. I just dropped that book off at CGC. And you just see their face, and it was the weirdest thing. Within 24 hours, I got 7,000 likes on Instagram. It's a great story because the story is worth more than the
Nice.
book, because it's one of those stories where it's like a comic book story. It's almost as good as the time that Dan Jurgens and Will Friedle signed my Batman Beyond book. That's a
Dude,
good story.
that's great. So my cousin, one of my biggest supporters, right? And one of the things we offer is blank sketch covers. Whenever we do cons, I try to get anybody who's worked with me at the show, right? So when it comes to the New York Comic Con, that's our home field advantage. That's our Super Bowl weekend, right? At one point I had 4 different artists that I worked with at the booth. There was another time I had 2 different artists. But this one year I got 3 of the team there with us. And here's my cousin. He grabs one of our sketch covers on the very first day, first thing in the morning, and he runs over to Ivan Reis. And he has Ivan Reis do a cover of Shield of the Interceptor. And it's like, bro, we got the team here. Why don't you have them do it? He's like, no, Ivan Reis is his man. And he didn't get it till the end of the convention on Sunday at like 4:00. But for him, that was it. You know what I mean? He's got one of his homegrown properties, right? Stuff that we dreamed about when we were kids, illustrated by one of his favorite artists.
So the Dan Jurgens story is funny, and it's going to upset CGC slightly. So Dan is signing, and Dan Jurgens is signing, and CGC messed up, and they didn't get there till 40 minutes later. Dan was signing for an hour. So the night before, I saw Dan Jurgens with Paul Levitz at the Library of Congress, because this was Awesome Con, doing a lecture. So I threw the idea to Dan today, maybe throw a little stinger on it, because I was going to get the book CGC'd. A little bat symbol counts as a sketch on a CGC book. So it doesn't matter if it's a whole thing or if it's a little thing. It's a sketch, nonetheless. It counts the same. Now, you could talk about value and all that stuff. So Dave Finch did a little bat symbol, and I didn't ask him to. It says, signed and sketched by Dave Finch on the book.
That's awesome, dude.
So now what happens is that he signs it. I'm just happy that it'll be a signature. And then he remembers me, starts drawing a bat thing on it. Now his handler knew not to stop and interfere. This is the difference between when a handler knows when to interfere and when a handler doesn't. So now his handler asks me, and I'm walking on crutches because my legs are messed up. So now his handler says, you're going to go get Will Friedle. He's Terry McGinnis. And I'm like, I'm not going to push my luck because I already got what I wanted. He's like, wait right here. Handler then brings me backstage, speaks to Will Friedle's handler. Will Friedle and me speak for like 5 minutes. He signs it and he says, I am Batman. CGC is witnessing the entire thing. And his line's just looking at me. They're looking at Will Friedle like, who is this guy and what's going on here? And it was one of those things. And that con, a bunch of other people had blank covers, and Dan didn't sketch on any of their blank covers. Book came back as a 9.8. He knew he was getting graded. It cost $10, no brainer. And I have a Will Friedle signed Dan Jurgens sketched Batman Beyond book. And it's not, I'm not saying it's the coolest book, but it's like the perfect comic book story and then like CGC's like, yo, man, we're so sorry. And I'm like, no, guys, this is the story.
Dude, see, that's awesome that you got that experience. You know what I mean? Look at the smile that's put it on your face. Dude, one of my best friends bought the Batman PlayStation 3 bundle. I think it was a PlayStation 3, right? He was able to remove the cover from the PlayStation, and he goes to as many cons as he can, and he gets almost everybody who's ever worked on Batman to sign that PlayStation 3 cover. Dude, he doesn't even play the damn thing anymore. You know what I mean? But he still, to this day, will try to go to any con. He'll bring that cover. If he knows you worked on Batman, doesn't matter how popular you are on the list of alumni, he wants you to sign that. And just like you, he'll have little bat symbols on there. You know what I mean? He'll have pointy ears on there, stuff like that. And that's his thing, dude. That's his thing.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting, and obviously, I mean, I appreciate cons for that, but this is such a detour out of your book.
No, but
Such
this
a
is the
detour.
fun part of comics. You know what I mean? This is how we. Uh, hey, everybody in Streamland. This is how me and Andrew get to know each other. Right? You're hanging out with the two of us while we're having some drinks. That's what this is, right? I don't know. I kind of feel like when you're just pitching product, things could be cold. You know what I mean? And I'm having a good time. I don't know about you. I hope you are.
I mean, if I wasn't having a good time, I would not be doing this. I would not be
Cool,
doing this.
man. Cool, man. See, but then what we're doing right now is what happens to me at the con, and that's why I need my wife and other people to just like make sure I focus on the con because that's what we're making money. You know what I mean? That's what we got to pay the bills.
See. The reason why I like this is that, and the reason why I don't like doing whole panels is that I feel that you don't get to know somebody in a whole panel, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
When you go to a con, and I've been to a con where I had like 600 people, you get to know the people at that con. Like I've had conversations with Scott Lobdell,
Okay.
and I love Scott's work. And so I had a 25-minute conversation bringing him stuff from like Generation X and bringing him like the holofoils. And now I'm having a conversation about his work on Teen Titans, and I'm a huge fan of this stuff. And so, like, if this con was up in Poughkeepsie, New York,
Mhm.
small con, maybe it had 1,000 people, but they had some very cool people. I think
Nice.
Joe, guy I can't think of his name, Sinat, I want to say was there,
Okay,
or
Joseph. Yeah.
yeah, Senate. Yeah. He was there doing like sketches for like $15. And like you had this entire thing where it was just like you can actually talk to people at a con and you could ask them, you could have a 5 minute, 10 minute, 20-minute conversation with somebody. And if somebody else wanted to time, but nobody was there, we were hitting up Scott Lobdell for this stuff, and he was happy to sign stuff for free and nothing was getting graded. And like that is what I think in a lot of ways is missing sometimes with Kickstarter, where it almost has become very corporate. And when you're now doing 50, 60, $100,000 campaign, it's a business. And look, I'm a capitalist. I'm not going to pretend I'm all for people making money,
Mhm.
but there is something that is lost with what comics are supposed to be. And it's that, interaction. And then people say, I charge for my signature. It's like you're indie. When did you become
Yeah.
corporate? Like,
Why? I used to feel weird about signing books because I was like, who am I? Right? I would joke, um, and I'd say, oh man, me signing the book depreciates the value of the book, right? And then I did a convention in Puerto Rico. My family's from Puerto Rico. I did a con out there, and I got my cousin at the booth with me, younger and very supportive of the whole community. And he's like, dude, are you kidding me? Why are you not signing the book? Grandpa, right, who had long been gone by that point, Grandpa would love to see our name, our family name. Oh my God, I'm starting to well up because I remember this, right? And he was like, you know how we'd feel knowing that our family name is getting out there? You know what I mean? And oh shit, dude. and from that point on, um, I sign it with pride. You know what I mean? And not pride like a big boastful chest, like look at me. No, pride knowing that, God damn man, I'm honoring my family by signing this. So whenever somebody asks me for a signature, I'm like, fuck yeah, man, I'm charging it. That's stupid, you know. But then again, like we're doing right now, right? I'm shooting the shit with them as I'm signing the books, and you're talking about the corporate nature of Kickstarter. I don't understand that yet, right? I don't have a grasp on that. My world has always been doing the con stuff. Yes, this is my 17th Kickstarter, but I use Kickstarters just to fund the printing of my books, right? I'm not using it to pay for a livelihood. I'm not out here living the life of mansions and Maseratis. And when it comes to paying the team for the work, well, we do offset printing. So at offset printing, if people don't know about it, you're buying in bulk. Your cost per unit is 50 to 70. Yeah, right. So over the course,
I know how much 3,000 comics would like.
yeah,
I know exactly how much it costs actually.
yeah, bro. You know what I mean? Now with the paper shortage, you're looking at maybe $2,200 for offset printing. But prior to that, prior to even the pandemic, 3,000 books was less than $1,700, right? 18 and change with shipping from DC to New York.
Before I had a sponsor on my show, and that's why
Mhm.
my Kickstarter was so cheap. I only needed to raise $750 on my Kickstarter for this show, and I actually didn't even need to raise that. I actually was
Yeah.
funded the next year, so I'm actually good for another 15 months before I
Yeah.
have to worry about bills, which was the whole purpose of what I wanted to do. Because I had Mixum as a sponsor,
Okay.
and
Okay.
they basically saved my ass
Good
with
shit.
StreamYard, and then they continue to save my ass.
Good
And the
shit.
only reason why I'm going to bring in sponsors moving forward is that the more money I have, the longer I can do this because I'm in a sponsorship drought right now. But guess what? In 3 months from now, I might have a sponsor for $300, and guess what that goes? I have $400 sitting in my bank account. StreamYard costs $240. I am covered for another year, which means I can continue to do this. So because I make my money in other realms.
You're
So I
playing with
teach.
house money right now, dude. That's what you're doing, and that's
Yeah.
that's
So
that's great. That's fucking great, man. So I get it. I get it. As long as the expenses are covered, you can rock and roll, brother. You can rock and roll, man. And you're talking about StreamYard. I don't know how much that costs. That's not a world I understand yet, right? So this digital environment, dude. Once the pandemic happened, I was like, what do we do? Like we were doing cons up and down the East Coast from Boston to Florida and flying to Puerto Rico. And then we were going as far west as Chicago. We were doing Philly, we were doing C2E2. I was loading everything in the trunk and we were rocking and rolling. Building the community like that, hand selling, having natural interactions with people. I I I was lost when it came to the digital world and how to convert. I'm still learning.
I had a real advantage because this is my 10th year in
Oh,
doing
okay.
interviews. So I started back in like 2012, 2013 with
Okay.
pre-recording. So when COVID hit, I moved to live streaming. It took me about 10 interviews to get comfortable live streaming, but the skill and the interview building was there. It
Okay.
then became, how do I function live? But that was a very fast learning curve for me. And when I came into live streaming in the first probably 6 months, nobody was doing it. And it was amazing. I had so many pickings that I could do. And
Nice.
it was great, and I still do. And everybody's now running a show, but not everybody knows how to run a podcast. Nobody knows how to actually build out questions and how to market it and how to push it out there. And I'm not in podcast format. When I get into that format, that's my bread and butter, where I know exactly how to do that. And I mean, my other show does 110 plays every single day without any marketing now. Now you might say, "Oh, it's only 110," but I don't push it out. It does it organically because
Dude,
I've built.
I got zero. You know what I mean? So 110 is impressive to me. Don't I wouldn't knock it at all.
No. My point is that I put in so much effort and I have such high quality in
Okay.
what I'm doing, and that's what has transferred over here. And that's the whole thing. I think that's what people don't understand is that running a podcast and even getting into the digital world is complicated. Now, again, I'm fine with people making money on Kickstarter. My problem is that when you forget your roots, and I think people need to be reminded saying,
Oh yeah.
you're producing a comic. If I'm teaching somebody about comic book investing, that's a
Oh yeah.
little bit different because that's a investment class that is expected to be cutthroat. That is expected to be education. But when you're producing a comic, I obviously want my creator to make money on it and the person I'm buying it from, but you're also producing. It's not a traditional business per se.
No. There's no school for this. Excuse me. There are certain courses but they're scattered all over the place. Like Pace University in Manhattan, they offer publishing courses, and it's funny. The name of the guy who runs the Bleeding Cool website, Rich Johnston, right? People were confusing him with someone who had an elevated position at Diamond, someone who just came in, named Rich Johnson. But the Rich Johnson that went into Diamond is the one who ran the publishing program at Pace University, right? And he would bring in buyers from Barnes and Nobles, Borders, and part of the course was learning how to pitch the products that you're publishing, your portfolio, right, to buyers in these big corporate retail locations. So you got to look for things like that. It's not just what you learn at the Joe Kubert School of Art. It's not just what you learn at SVA. There's so many different layers. And we're going to bring this back to the con, right? But that's your on-the-job training. It's you pick up lessons and other pitfalls to avoid from people that you network with and you meet at shows. You end up doing things where sometimes you overpack, you don't know how to move product, and the best lessons are when you're doing the conventions, right? So you got to find a way to put it all together to come to this point where you become the comic book creator.
Yeah, and even going further, and the reason that's also why it's not traditional. And it's also the idea that you're selling happiness as well, and it's kind of like running a sports team.
Oh yeah.
When a sports team hits you up, and some kid's in a hospital, and his favorite player is something, you might lose money by having that player go to the hospital, but you're also making money in a different way, and it's very complicated because you're not selling a traditional product. You're also selling an IP. You're selling an idea. You're also implanting the seeds. When you sell somebody an issue one, and look, I'm going to call what I think. I think that if you don't know how to make money on your first issue, you're a moronic in this business. That doesn't mean that you have to, maybe not make money, but if you're not breaking even, you have a problem in your business. It is, I hear the saying where your first issue, you're going to lose money. Your second issue, you're going to lose less money. Your third issue, you're going to break even, or you're going to break even on your trade or make money on your trade. I think that is complete bullshit, because if that's how you run a business, that's a bad business model. Now, if you understand saying, look, I'm breaking even and I'm going to make my real payday on the trade, that I understand that business model. But if you're not breaking even on issues, that's the fastest way how to get into debt and into bankruptcy.
100%. And you know what? I was there in the beginning. I can't lie. I can't deny it.
I was there too. It's all right. In a different business, completely. But I've obviously learned, and I'm not faulting anybody. I'm not saying you're a bad person, but you have to realize that that's not a success.
You have to. It's not a success if you're not learning those costly lessons, right? If I didn't start to break even until the third, fourth issue. I was there at that point. But with each issue, I learned something new. I learned how to climb the mountain a little bit further, right? I had to be doing something right if I'm doing this for 15 years, and we're doing okay. We're not, like I said, we're not in mansions and Maseratis, but we're able to do things, and I can't deny and say I wasn't scared during the pandemic. Prior to the show going on, I was talking about how we leveled up, and I was becoming a convention promoter, right? And we put a lot of our earnings from the books into the conventions, and we were going to keep feeding the cycle. One was going to inform the other financially, and then the pandemic happened, and it threw a whole business plan to shit, right? And it took a solid 2 years for me to get to the point of saying, okay, we've built the war chest back up and we're ready to go again. So it's not just, Storm Chasers number 8 that's coming out now. There's going to be 2 more books launched before October, right? One of them is production is almost done, and the other one production is starting.
We're going to take those two for a second and even talk about Storm Chasers. That is your Kickstarter. Obviously, we're dealing with a whole functional, not functional. Obviously, the former members are now coming back together to fix the dysfunctionality, and there's a girl's life on it a lot of it.
Yeah.
We're starting to see why they broke up, why they're dysfunctional. Maybe people were sleeping with each other when they shouldn't have been. I'm calling it. I'm not ruining anything that's not out there at this point. Maybe person A and person B were hooking up, and then really person C wanted to be with person B, and that didn't turn out, and that also created a rift. And so there's a lot of stuff, because I read Storm Chasers a little bit different, and you were kind enough to send me the first 7 issues, where I read it as we have a superhero crisis, but we're really diving into the functionality of the team, not so much the superhero elements of it. And that's how I read it. And we'll also dive into the personal stuff. I'll give it this way. You never see Bruce Wayne showing up into the Justice League with Superman, be like, Superman, I was with a blonde last night. You never see that. But, I kind of want to see how Bruce's, ex or his current girlfriend is reacting to the fact that he's not there and the crisis is going on in the Justice League. I kind of want to see it. That's what this book is in a lot of ways.
Dude, I'm not going to sit here and say I am trying to reinvent the wheel or came up with anything new and intriguing. I've taken things that have happened in the world around me, in life around me, right? And I've added a lot of those interpersonal relationships into the story and how this character plays out with this one. It makes them more than 2-dimensional. If I go right to the beginning, right? The very first issue of the Storm Chasers, you have two security guards, right? Two guys transporting a villain, and they're having a simple conversation about meeting someone who was in the movie Die Hard, right? And it may sound like whatever filler banter, but that really happened to me, right? I was at a wedding where an ex-girlfriend came with someone who looked like the long blonde guy from the Die Hard movie. And it was a friend's wedding, and there was family there. And the joke of the night was, look at Jay's ex-girlfriend. She came with the guy from Die Hard. So when the issue starts off, you have these two guards, and they're talking about, I was in a movie with, I was at a wedding this weekend where I met the guy from Die Hard. And they were like, who, the one that said shoot the glass? We're like, no, the blonde one. So a lot of those interpersonal relationships are really things that happened, and just used to add depth to the characters. Whether it's superheroes, whether it's sci-fi, whether it's a Western, whether it's zombies, that's window dressing, right? You're still looking out the window, and you're looking at the world that's around you. How do you play it off of an interesting story?
Yeah, no, but I agree, and that's what I like about it, is that there is that stuff in there, and obviously it seems like something stupid and it seems like details, but it does also set the tone, because that's a real conversation in a lot of ways. And I also like the fact that there is something seriously going on, and we are diving into the inner webs of superheroes and what's going on in their lives. Because,
dude, I love this. Thank you. You went in on this, man. I'm feeding off of your energy. I fucking love that, dude. I see this. These are the conversations that I have at cons that just take me forever, But I love that. I'm sorry to cut you off. I got to tell you how it's exciting,
That's because here's what I've learned, is that I listen to other people's interviews, and I hear people like, "What's your book about?" and they know nothing about the person they're interviewing. I actually do my homework on people.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't know everything about you, but I actually read your book. I read your Kickstarter. This is why I say, hey, can you send me something?
Mhm.
This is why when people actually send me information on their books, and look, I don't know anything about, the dragon book, but I
Oh, the
actually
dragster. Yeah. Okay.
but I know all about Storm Chasers, where you sent me the first 7 of them, and I actually read them. And this is the whole problem, I think, with interviewing, is that you need to know your subject. I'm having somebody on after you at 9 o'clock, and we're talking about NFTs. I spent all last week probably about 8 to 9 hours learning about NFTs to prep up for this interview. And I know a little bit about it, but I'm very educated on that topic. And there's a reason why. And then I actually read your book. And even if I didn't know who you are and didn't know anything about you, if I read the 7 issues, we can actually talk about it and dive into this and have this conversation. And now I'm familiar. And this is the whole problem with the interview world right now.
Okay. I understand. I see it. I do. But I gotta apologize and say I'm still vibing at how deep you went into it, and I'm fucking loving that, dude. I really am. I really am.
I love the fact that this is something that is, I don't really care about the mission they're on. I don't. I care about how they became dysfunctional and how they're getting back to functionality, and how the stakes of their functionality is this girl's life is on the line. And that's what makes this interesting. And then it's also like, okay, what happens when, your ex comes, who you were sleeping with, say, hey, my daughter is kidnapped, and well, we need you back, but we're not sleeping together anymore. It's a great question. It's a really good question.
Yeah. How do you handle that, right? I mean, if you're a hero, you put the life of the one who's in jeopardy first, but then at the same time, are you gonna go 100%, right? Hopefully you do, and that's what makes a hero. And it's seeing the character handle those challenges that makes you want to either appreciate them more or loathe them more, right? And like you said, we're there. We're at the climax of this first arc, and it could go either way.
Yeah, and it's getting exciting, and like that's what's so fun about this. And it's also the idea that the hero that's sort of brought back in, and certain of these heroes, they also seem to want back in, also in a lot of ways, where they miss the idea of being a hero, which means that there must have been such a bad circumstance, or an event must have changed what they wanted to do. And that's the other thing too, is that how much do you want back in? I was watching Olympus Has Fallen, and
Okay.
great movie. And starts off 18 months, and the Secret Service agent saves the president, but doesn't save his wife. And then he wants back into guarding the president, and he sees his way back in by saving the president's ass from being captured and held hostage in his own bunker, essentially. Great movie. It's a super fun action movie. If you like a good shooter up and you just want to chill out.
Yeah, I've seen all 3 of them. So I know the trilogy very well. But it's like going back to stripping away the superhero elements to this, right? And it's also part of being in a failed relationship, right? And going back home, thinking you have to pick up the pieces, trying to get back on your feet again, right? These are all metaphors for what's happening in the story, right? The failed relationship, going back to the old team, putting the team back together, just like, when we brought this up, pre-show. I was in a failed relationship. I had to go back home. I had to put my life back together, right? And that, one of the things that helped me get through the depression of that was finding a way to process what happened in my life and share it in the story by giving depth to the other players who are part of this puzzle.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, and I'm being paid for a reason, because I don't want to ruin anything.
No,
I
it's
mean,
okay. It's okay. It's all right. I'm not somebody who gets discombobbled over spoilers. You know, I'm all right with that.
but you wrote it. That's the problem. I didn't write it. You wrote it, so you know exactly what happens. Everybody who's going to see this may or may not know what's going to happen, and I clearly want them to actually buy and support your Kickstarter.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. I want to keep making more books, you know, and this is part of that process, right? But it also doesn't take away from what you and I are having right now. You know what I mean? I'm fucking digging it, dude. I'm loving the time we got right now. You know, it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just you know, not just somebody digging on the book, but somebody who understands where you're coming from. Somebody who's easy to talk to, and somebody who comes from your world. You know, when you get to vibe with so many different elements of that person,
Yeah.
things go well. I feel.
I could throw an idea. So I'm a huge Gundam fan.
Okay.
I love Gundam. It's my favorite anime series of all time. It's been around for almost 45 years. And so I do a Gundam panel every once in a while at anime and Comic Cons. And I've only had like 4 or 5 people sometimes in my panel. And nobody was after us. And the con person was like, yeah, nobody's after you for like an hour. So what do? We all just legitly took the chairs, we created a circle, and we were talking for an hour about Gundam and about this and that. And it was amazing because you have all these people who've never met each other talking about an anime. And then we went into some other stuff. And then like an hour went by and we're like, oh, yeah, sorry. As like a bunch of people were starting to fill in for the next panel. I'm like, yeah, we were just talking. And like,
it's one of your favorite panels ever, right?
I mean, I love the panel. Yeah. It's not. I mean, I love the topic, and I'll talk about it with anybody at any given time. Mm-hmm. It was just great that after the fact that it was just a conversation because we had the space to do it and we were having a great time. And like, it was just everybody was on the same channel. It's hard to describe, but if somebody came in and was a Gundam fan, they'd fit right in. They'd pull up a chair, the circle would get wider, and it would just flow. And it was amazing, and I don't know how to explain it in that way, but obviously a lot of stuff's going on. And issue 8 really is bringing up the entire thing, and obviously there's some villain stuff going on, and a lot of fun stuff's happening in these 8 issues.
There's there's depth to the villains as well. You know what I mean? They just don't get as much screen time as the heroes do. But I have a companion book. Excuse me. It's the character guide, right? I was a big fan of the old Marvel Universe handbook or DC's Who's Who, right? The data pages, the strength charts, you know, just the wealth of information from the characters at all the books. I'm doing this for 15 years, right? But we didn't put out as many books as we should have in those 15 years. That doesn't mean that the ideas aren't there. So a lot of the things that I don't get to explore in the issues, I tie those elements into the character guide. So when people get a chance to pick that up, if they only get a few panels to pick up on a character or hero or villain that they like, and they want a little bit more about them, they'll find that in the character guide stuff. And that gives me a lot more room to explore. And I have fun with things like that too.
Yeah, I like those too, and I'm a big fan of what Top Cow used to do. Obviously, things like that.
The source books,
source books, the swimsuit issues are always good as well. Things like that because you know it's not so serious, and I fell into swimsuit issues in a very weird way.
We want to have fun with this. You know what I mean, dude? We want prior to the Top Cow swimsuit issues, in the I don't know how old you are. I'm 46, right? And when the 90s were turning over, Marvel used to do these big magazine books. Really weird, but it was almost like the Inquirer for what was happening if the Marvel Universe was the real world. And, you know, in the center, you'd have John Romita Jr. drawing an illustration of Tony Stark on the cover of Ferrari because he's selling the Ferrari. You know, you'd have She-Hulk and the Wasp sit in a theater and rank the top 10 hottest Avengers. You'd have an expose of someone really digging deep into Xavier's school for hidden youngsters and how it's more than it seems. It was just adding extra elements and bringing the world of the Marvel Universe to life and making it seem like this is something that's lived in. So, you take that and like the swimsuit issues and all these other companion things that other companies did. And it's like, I pop for that just as much as the books.
I mean, look at the Street Fighter stuff, and how I fell into all this stuff. Because this what happened. There was a comic shop that brought in a bunch of dollar books. They probably paid like 30 cents for every book. I bought a long box of 250 books for like $50 at most. So now they were selling it for $1. And so you had stuff like Sia Ohms, Lola on there. You had Witchblade, like Fan Appreciation. You had all this Aspen stuff. You had all the Top Cow swimsuit issues in there. And you had all these books. You had a Lady Death leather-bound 10,000 copy.
Wow.
Which is, so now, you have all this stuff, and this stuff was loved. Like, you ever come across some of these collections, the books were loved.
Hell yeah, dude.
And so now all this stuff's $1. And I'm like, I don't know half this stuff, but the covers look awesome. Cyberforce, the foil edition, where like everybody in Top Cow worked on it. So like Dave Finch did like 3 pages. Michael Turner did a page. Ebess did a page on that book, I think. And so now you have all these people and all these books that were loved and somebody truly appreciated dirt cheap. Yeah. And so this is how I fell into all this stuff and like all those source books and all that stuff. And that's why this is fun too, what you've done with that. Because that's like something that's old, but also adds depth to it.
Hell yeah, dude. It makes it feel like the world is lived in, not just, knowing that the book was loved, and it's like, you appreciate it that much more, I mean, you bought it for a buck, but you saved that book's life because you're going to love it as much as the owner who had it, right? And it's going to live a little bit longer in your collection.
Oh, I think that those books are going to live for a while. I mean,
good shit.
But like even going to your thing, because this is the thing that I have an issue where I know people do swimsuit issues on Kickstarter, and all it is that it's pinups. And I like pinups. Don't get me wrong. I have a bunch of Zenescope books that are pinups, but I'm getting tired of that. I want content, and I want extra content. I want content that is not your traditional content, where I want to know what your character's favorite sport is. I don't mind you doing a pinup and then giving stats. I don't have a problem with that either. But I want to know what is your character's favorite, sport. What is their favorite car they drive? What is their favorite flavor of ice cream? Because guess what? That changes how I read the story now. And even if they're a villain, if their favorite, flavor of ice cream is mint chocolate chip, I now realize they're more human.
Yes.
And it sounds
weird. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, dude. I want to go back to those early Marvel books, right? Because there was something that happened way after that. And when Cyclops and Jean Grey got married, Marvel did their wedding album. And it was a magazine format book, and I still got it, dude. Both Kubert brothers added a ton of material to it, and it made it feel like you were at the wedding. I think it was X-Men 30, right? The newer X-Men book, once they gave it a name. That's I think that was the issue that they got married. But dude, just the cover was, I think, blue pencil behind a full fleshed out version of Jean and Scott, right? Dude, I don't give a shit about fucking weddings, but I still bought that magazine.
No, it's like the Superman versus Muhammad Ali book by Neil Adams.
Yeah.
Where you got everybody there, and now it feels like a big fight. And it's also now who's there. Well, I mean, everybody was in that crowd. I think Lucille Ball was in the crowd that he did. I think, Michael Jackson and Jackson 5 were there. Batman was there. I think Catwoman was there. Obviously, Superman was fighting, so he wasn't there. I heard Clark Kent was there, though. That was interesting where he was. No, but it makes it feel, all jokes aside, in case anybody didn't realize that Clark Kent is Superman. In case anybody didn't know, you know.
Spoilers.
I also heard Cassius Clay was there as well. This is too easy. This is way too easy.
That was a toss-up.
Somebody here is not going to get the joke. Somebody's not going to get the joke. Anyway, we're not going to explain.
You're going to get it in the comments later. What do you think you're talking about, Cassius Clay? I don't want to know about them. Yeah.
I bet you he could beat Muhammad Ali any day of the week. But like, it creates a sense that like this is a real event, I feel. And that's something that I think is very well done. And obviously, it's a little bit more tricky now, I think, in comics. But I don't think it's impossible to do.
It's not. I've done it. You know? Because dude, I want people to have fun. Yeah, do I want them to buy the books? Yeah, but I want them to have a good time with it too. Right? I want them like you are vibing with it. I want them to feel like, you know, it's something that's been lived in. You know? Are you going to forget it? Yeah, you're going to forget it. But for those few moments that it's in your hands, is it going to help take you away from whatever you're doing that day? I'll take that as a win, man. I take that as a win.
I mean, I'll be very honest. I mean, my sister got married, right? I don't remember her wedding, but I remember Tuxedo Mask and Sailor Moon's wedding.
There you go.
I mean,
there you go.
Very honest about life. Wait. Clearly, my priorities, and the reason why I bring that up, I do remember my sister's wedding. Yeah.
Don't let her hear that part, right?
I don't really care if she's watching. You know?
Okay.
I remember parts of it. It was a long night. And I had a lot to drink that night too. And I had a great time. So I had a great time. But the point is that we remember certain things that bring us in as fans over things that are almost real life. And it's such a weird concept, but that's what I think people don't understand about comics and anime and even television, is that if a character has been on a TV show for 12 years, you get to know them, and they're a part of your life, and they're within your social circle to some degree. And if it's written well, or it's presented well, you know, that's something that I think creators really need to realize about their characters, is that, you know, people, especially when characters have been around for 10, 20, 30 years, you get to know them, especially in Continuum as well.
You grow with them, right? You know, we just lost George Perez, and of course Neil, right? You were talking about Neil. I grew with Wally West and Dick Grayson. I'm not choosing DC or Marvel. I'm not one of those people that said, oh, I was one over the other. I read them both, right? But one of my favorite books as a kid growing up was the Teen Titans, and that one issue of that one cover by George Perez where Dick Grayson and Wally West are walking away, and you see their teen sidekick suits laying on the floor behind them, right? And they went from being, you know, high school kids to college. There you go, dude. There you go, man. You know, and that's what I loved about DC, was that their sidekicks grew up. I feel that's one of the elements that was lost with New Mutants. You didn't get to see them transition. You didn't see them have those college years before they became the professional, right? You had the X-Force, okay, but what happened to some of the others? You never really had the name changes. But the DC you did, right? You had Robin to Nightwing. You had, Wally to Flash. And that's one of the things that stung with Tim Drake and going from Robin to Red Robin. No, he needed a name, you know, for a little while to just separate him from the Bat franchise so that he could come back later on. It sounds weird. I know it's stupid. I'm sorry. But just seeing them grow, I appreciated that. I was with that because I was growing at the same time.
Yeah, no, it's really, really interesting. And, obviously I love DC. I have a DC Presents number 26 as a 7.5. And I bought that a long time ago. And it's probably, I think it's tripled in value since when I bought it.
Hmm.
Which, in a 7.5, a 9.8, I mean, is an expensive book. It's like a $450 book right now. If not more,
Ouch.
And signed, it's more like 6 to 7 now, which
Mm.
is crazy. Eventually, I'm gonna get a signed 9.8 by George Perez and Marv Wolfman, and they're out
Mhm.
there.
Right.
They're not impossible to find. You just got to drop the right money for it.
You got to dig.
But
You got to work for it.
it's a little bit of work finding one that you want and you like, but once you find it, 650 to 700, it'll get you it all day. But the idea is that the reason why I love it is that I love the fact I love the Teen Titans, and I love everything they've done. I have a run of pretty much the new Teen Titans from 45 to I think like 116,
Wow.
and I have the wedding issue in the nice foil.
I got that one too, dude. I was a fan of Tom Grummett. Oh man, Tom Grummett. I followed that transition, and he drew the best Superboy ever, man. He was it. He drew Dick with that mullet, but whatever. It didn't matter to me. He gave him the little wings on the underarms, and I was rocking with that. I was rocking with it.
I love Starfire.
Uh-huh.
I love Jimmy. I can't think of say his last name. And Amanda Connor's version of
Okay,
Starfire.
Palmiotti. Yeah.
Yeah, I always have a hard time saying his last name. I'm just so bad at it, and I don't want to embarrass myself any more than I need to. But I thought they did a fantastic job
Nice.
on that, and I have a 9.8 Starfire #1 signed by both of them, which is nice. And I like that book a lot because I love Starfire. And I love what they did with her. They made her a ditzy redheaded blonde, but they made her also fun, and they made her what I think every comic is. And then DC rebooted it, and just whatever. And I don't know who did Red Hood and the Outlaws, but that opening scene with Starfire popping out of the water in a bikini. Oh my God! If there's ever a song for that, it would be "Baby We're Gonna Cruise" by Florida Georgia Straight Line. That opening lyric of that song is that panel in a nutshell. Great book too.
I don't remember who wrote that, but it was Kenneth Rocafort that was drawing that, right?
I believe so. Great first 6 issues of that series. Great opening scene for a comic. It's like the third panel in the entire thing, and it's because it's everything that's supposed to be with Starfire. It is legitimately both those versions of Starfire are fantastic. But again, I love the new Teen Titans, and I love the fact that they're growing as a team. And I even think Jeff Johns' run on the Teen Titans was great as well.
I liked it as well too, dude. It's really underrated. Even when they went into those future issues, you know what I mean? Where they had each taken over, the Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman personas. I was with that. I missed that.
What I like what they did is that the single issues for that had Michael Turner covers.
Yes.
And they used the Michael Turner for the graphic novel. The first one, which was the right move because it's Michael Turner.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, like maybe 18 months before he passed, I believe, around that time. And boy, brilliant. And then there was some other stuff that Michael Turner has done, where like Supergirl and the Teen Titans, and very, very smart because those covers did sell.
He even did a few covers of the Superman Batman series, right?
He did that too, and Aspen reshot that out with Peter Steingrind or Grin.
Really?
Just recently, and I picked one up for like $40.
Oh wow! Okay.
And
Nice.
basically, you have Supergirl in the middle, and then you have like Superman and Batman's face in the back, and Wonder Woman I think is also in the cover. And it's an awesome book, and it's almost a reimagining of that, but with like Michael Turner's art and done by Peter. And I don't know how to explain it. It's an awesome cover, worth every penny I bought it for.
Nice.
But there's the one with I think Ian Churchill did either the art or the writing, and it was either the Michael Turner cover or somebody else's, and it's arguably the best Supergirl cover ever.
Which who was doing the covers first, Ian Churchill or Turner?
So I think it was random. You either got cover A or you got cover B.
Oh,
That's what makes that cool, is that there was two covers. Random.
Okay. I didn't know,
So
because I remember getting a couple covers where Supergirl was already wearing the dark side outfit. She had already been converted, or where Batman was using Orion's harness. But then I remember issues leading up to that.
because I don't think Churchill did the cover. I think Churchill was the artist.
No, but there's one cover that he has where Supergirl is wearing the black and silver costume. And that's a Churchill cover.
Yeah, I know that he did that. The Michael Turner is traditional Supergirl, and she's like flying in the sky, and there's Supergirl Teen Titans on it. It's like a $10 cover on eBay. It's not an expensive cover, but it's an awesome one. It's a really cool one, and it's not his most iconic cover, but I think it's his best. But I digress right there. Enough about Michael Turner. As much as I love Michael Turner.
Hey man, rest in peace, Mike.
I do want to briefly mention that, because obviously Unstoppable is a much larger world at this point, because you got New York versus the world, which is sort of a zombie thing that sort of
that's the only book right now in our catalog that is not part of the shared universe. That's stepping outside.
It's not part of it, but it's familiar with it.
Yes, sir. Because there are elements where you'll see like a poster for New York versus the World, or a floor mat, or a book within the hands of characters in the regular shared universe.
If I came into your first book with New York versus the World, and then I jumped into something like Dragonstorm, I would be like, okay, I realize that obviously New York versus the World is zombies, and Dragonstorm is more superheroes and dealing with things of that nature. But I realize that I'm not that far off. It's related. To put it nicely, is a good way how I describe it. And then you got Dragonstorm, you got Shield of the Interceptor, and some fun stuff's going on with that book. And then there's some fascinating things that have happened, and JayDee went through it with me.
Oh yes. We try not to bring up failures of the past, but there was an incident with JayDee, myself, a number of other creators where we were involved in.
Luke's been on this show too.
Okay, yeah. So Luke, Randy Zimmerman, Anthony Figueroa, Russ Leach, artist I worked with for many years to start his own title called Only Death Can Save Us. We got all involved in a phantom deal to get us out into a retail location that had a number of stores across the nation, and all of us ponied up quite a few bucks to print up a hell of a lot of books that went nowhere. And it's only recently that we were able to get our hands back on the copies. And there was one campaign run through Indiegogo, one campaign run through Kickstarter, where all of our creators were trying to recoup some of our expenses.
Yeah, and we're not going to go through all of it, because that was a pretty good idea. That it wasn't just print run costs. It was other things. It was frustration. Obviously, it was time. It was money. It was also the idea of doing something fast versus doing something slow. A million things. And I run an eBay business, and I understand that when I deploy $20, I'm not deploying $20 I'm deploying a lot more than $20. And I think you understand that too, and a lot of other people.
I talked earlier about building the war chest back up, and the war chest would have been built up a hell of a lot earlier if we didn't have capital invested in trying to make this thing work out. So recouping from that on top of the pandemic was just frustrating. Doesn't encompass everything involved in that.
Also, what people don't understand is that when you go to a con and you're a con guy, one of the things that I think people don't understand is that you might have cost X to print your books. That is not your cost to sell a book. I'll run through something and feel free to correct me. If you print a book and your artist costs $350 and your print run costs $1,000 for whatever reason for how many books you printed, and you printed 250 copies, you have to divide pretty much 250 by 13.5 or 1350. And that, I mean, this is just basic math. I'm way off.
You're trying to simplify it, but you're on the nose.
That is your break-even point. Plus, then you have to factor in your table cost at that con per day, essentially. And now you're getting it down to your break-even point per day, not to mention your time, not to mention anything
travel,
else.
lodging, right? Other expenses. One of the things I do for myself is, we can't pay the team top dollar. I wish we could. I really, really do. They deserve top dollar. But we don't. But we try to reimburse them other ways. If we're at a show that you're at, then you're coming in on our dime. You know what I mean? So that, things like that gets factored in. And oh man, I'm sorry. You triggered some PTSD for a second, dude. You know what I mean? And it's like I don't want to go down that hole, but yeah.
The point I'm getting at is that what people don't understand is that I think a lot of people do not know how to run a business. In Kickstarter land, and I see a post and it agitates me where somebody's like, "Oh, I'm about to lose half my income next month for my job, and I guess I'm gonna have to postpone my issue too." And part of the thing is that, look, I'm not here to beat you up, but you really did not come in with a battle plan where your book is expensive to produce, and that sometimes happens, but you need to figure out a way how to do it. There's a reason why I haven't really even started to produce a book, because I'm questioning is this going to be the greatest rate of return for me? Is this the greatest use of my application? Is this the trial and tribulations that I want to go through? And this is the whole thing. And I think a lot of people have to ask that question. I mean, everybody says you can make a comic. Well, I think that's actually horrible advice. This is not for everybody. That doesn't mean that I can write a comic book. You could write a comic book. Anybody can physically write a script, and anybody can go find an artist, and anybody can go produce a bunch of copies. But this is maybe not for everybody, and not everybody should be encouraged to do this. And there has to be a series of questions you have to ask yourself, saying, do I really want to go through this, or do you want to do what I do, where I sell comic books on eBay, and then I take my profits and buy stocks that produce dividends, and I legitimately sit every month and calculate and watch my dividends grow and just repeat the process, and I don't have to worry about producing an item. I'm just worrying about selling one, and that's perfectly fine.
The ins and outs of running a small press company are, had I known about everything I'd be getting involved in, I never would have done this. Flat out. I mean, dude, I can be a hell of a lot more successful running a pizzeria with everything I know, as opposed to running a sandwich shop. Shit, running a coffee shop. With all the business knowledge. I went into this with College Business 101, right? And like I said earlier at the con, that was the school of hard knocks, grinding it out and learning your lessons the hard way and learning how repeating them were going to be expensive and just making sure you didn't hit those same mistakes again.
Yep. I mean, I am right now running a successful eBay store, a successful private comic book selling thing,
Nice.
but it's taken me a long time to figure it out and do it the right way. I have down to a science for a reason. I know what will sell, how fast it will sell, and I know what I have is good stock.
Nice.
And sometimes, though, I will wait 5 years for a book, and I have mature books. There are books that I am waiting 5 years for maturity, and they will get me what I want them to get me, and they will get me rates of returns. But that's the things that I can manage the debt, and that's the whole thing, and that's a whole different ballgame. And again, though, this isn't something that I was just like, oh, I know it tomorrow. It's taken me forever. I think that's another thing too, is that this is you have to ask, how far do I want to go into this, and also, you gotta ask, how far is my spouse willing to go into this with me?
Hell yeah, hell fucking yeah, hell fucking yeah, dude. I'm lucky that I have a wife who is as supportive as she is. The last long-term relationship I was in, where we owned property together, it was not like that at all, right? Her last words to me were, "Have fun living a fantasy life," and yeah, dude, and okay, cool, no problem. We're selling the fucking house from this point on. And you know what? I am having fun living a fantasy life right now, because when I do conventions, my wife comes with me. We've gone to, I don't know how many different cities that she's never been to, right? And she'll come to the con. She'll work with me for a little bit. Once she knows that I'm off and running, she'll go, she'll Uber, she'll check out the fucking city herself. Dude, she'll come back when I'm ready to cut out for the day. We go to dinner, and guess what? Now we have shit to talk to, and we're not sitting across from each other at the dinner table on fucking phones. You know what I mean? We're engaging in conversation in all the things that we experienced that fucking day or that weekend, right? And we look forward to that shit, dude. I was supposed to be doing MegaCon this Thursday, but whatever, some things hung up, and we're still going to Florida, right? But one of the reasons we were going to do that is because her parents are out there, so we're saving on travel expenses, we're saving on lodging, right? She would have been able to go do what she's got to do out there while I'm working the convention. We're living together, but we're still doing our own. We're still taking care of our own agendas, and at the end of the day, we're back together. And with her, it's, you know what? She's paying attention to the bottom line on everything, right? There are some moves I'm about to make, and even though this is my business, I got to make sure I'm clearing it with her so she understands that this is not going to set us back.
Yeah, no, it's something that obviously I'm not in a relationship right now, but when I do get into a relationship and it's serious, I'm gonna have to explain to my girl and my wife and my future wife, certain things, saying, hey, this is how my business operates.
Knock on
But
wood, I hope you find that, bro. I really do.
The lucky part of me, though, is that my business is self-sufficient.
Good.
It does not need cash infusions, or the cash infusions it needs is maybe $500 a year, which is not a lot of money. So all of a sudden, I have a business that is self-sufficient, but it's taken a long time to get there. And then it produces me a distribution, so it's a lot easier to explain that type of business to somebody versus saying, hey, we got to keep putting 10K into it. It's a lot easier when you have something that's self-sufficient. But
yeah,
I do want to talk about rewards with you on your Kickstarter.
Okay, cool, man. I'm sorry. See, I know we're supposed to be talking about that, right? But we talk about everything else, and I lose sight of the shit we're supposed to do because we're having fun doing the other stuff. But I go ahead, shoot.
No, it's all good. It's your interview. It's not my interview. I'm gonna have a fun time cutting it up though for micro content. But I've been taking notes on micro content, so there's so much stuff to cut up on this entire interview. But obviously you do something very cool where you have $5 physical issues, I believe, and you cover A and cover B, and hopefully that those are the right ones. And then you have pins, which are always fun. Then you have T-shirts,
Yep.
which are always fun. This is what was right up my alley, which is trading cards. So I love trading cards. I love baseball cards. I'm really getting into that as an investment.
Okay.
And this is getting fun because you got a lot of them at this point.
Yeah. With the trading cards, one of the cool things was that they were the stretch goals, you know. And with every Kickstarter we've had, we keep adding to the set. I kind of have a rough idea for an end in sight, and then we start with a new one. But I had 7 cards planned for this set for stretch goals, but 2 of those cards I'm turning them into elevated premium cards. So here on this show is the first announcement. There will be 2 holochrome cards as stretch goals later on in the set. I have not decided on if they are just stretch goals or if they are also going to be added to the holochrome cover packages, but they will be available later on. I'm going to be making that announcement soon.
Yeah, and then also I think that pretty much anything else, that if you want a bunch of other issues, you get everything physical, you get digital, the entire 8 issues, you get a physical. I think you also, if you're getting it physical, I think you do it digital as well.
I do.
Right?
I do. The one price gets you both, right? So when the Kickstarter is over, I wait till they release the funds, so I know who paid, who didn't pay, and so that's usually around 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Once that kicks in, I know I check off the list. Everybody gets their digital issue right then, so that way they have something to read while the physical copies are getting printed.
It's also the idea that, and I'm very honest, where if I just spend X amount of money, sometimes I don't want to crack open a book, because I'm a collector, and I'm like, I want to read it digitally, and I want to keep the book pristine, and that's a big thing. And I know people who don't send digital copies, and I'm like, that's an issue for me. That's a deal breaker. That's a deal breaker,
dude. And then it's coming to a point where people don't have the room like they used to, right? Digital packages move for me, right? I think I've had maybe 12 or 13 digital package sales alone, and if I didn't have that up there, how many people would not be helping us to get to the goal of printing up the physical copies?
And let me tell you, I ran a Kickstarter. My entire, for my show, is all digital. It's great. Fulfillment is easy. I sold advertising and episode rights, because guess what? I get booked up quickly. And at this stage, what I found is that when people pay for an interview spot, the guest quality actually increases. And because it factors out bullshit. And the people who attacked me on it, the reason why is that you factored out the bullshit. You did exactly what the intention was. And that's what's insane. The questions and all the whispering behind that I found out later on in this community, I'm like, you guys don't even get it yet. You factored yourself out of the problem. And that's what's great about it. And that's what money does. Money is an awesome determiner.
Hell yes.
I can't explain it to you, but like, my mission got accomplished because I basically, people were ponying up money. And when I was asking for $5 outside the Kickstarter to certain people, and like certain people were like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, okay, you want a free show, but this show and somebody else's show are not the same.
Right.
They are not the same. I'm going to actively think about your book for the next 6 hours on my money. That show has looked at your project for 20 minutes.
You put in work into it.
So, but I digress. I'm sure I'm going to be on somebody else's show in like 2 weeks from now for 30 minutes talking about this. I paid to be on it, which is great.
What show is that?
I'm doing a Pop Van Zant's CromCon.
Oh, okay.
I bought an hour. And the first 30 minutes is just me and Pops talking about how he's charging and how it's my idea. I was the one who encouraged him to do it. Actually,
Really? Okay.
I convinced him to go further, and then I said, "I'll be your first one to pay," because $7 for an hour, and I don't know what I'm doing in the last half an hour. But I have no idea what I'm doing. So I digress, though. And then further going into rewards, you got your Chrome covers A's, B's. You got the Unstoppable, Storm Chasers 1, New York vs. World 1, Unstoppable Origins 1, Dragon Storm 1.
Oh yeah, the Unstoppable Ones package. Yeah, just the first issues.
Yeah, pretty much the first issues of everything. You got obviously the set of the hollow Chrome covers A's and B's, which is a little bit cheaper than buying them separate from each other.
Yep.
You basically got a bunch of just gigantic packages that have a minimum of everything essentially in it. And so obviously, and then it's the Mega, the Ultra, the Maxed Out, and I'm sure that if somebody wanted something and wanted like 10 Maxed Out packages, you can make it happen.
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, dude. I'd kill for that. Come on, man. Don't tease me. Don't tease me.
No. I always ask this question because I believe in customer service.
Yeah.
I sell on eBay, and my question when somebody buys something from me, I say, what can I get you more? So somebody was interested in a pin I have. And I asked him a question and said, you just bought one and you want another? And he's like, yeah, I love pins. I'm like, I got some other pins, And I didn't list them yet. And I shot him a bunch of reviews. Like, yo, what's your price on all of them? And because I asked a very stupid question, I sold him a good deal for him, a good deal for me. And I sold him 5 pins for $65, which basically, I'm not good at math, but it's a good deal for everybody involved. Because those pins usually retail for $12.50 to $15 a piece.
You made your money, and he got a little of a break on it.
And I gave him good shipping.
Good shit.
So because he bought from me before, and so next time I have a pin I don't like, I'm going to hit him up, and because I'm not a pin collector. And so certain pins I like from Zenoscope, but certain ones I'm like, look, it's not for me. And so all of a sudden, guess what? I say, hey, man, this is not my collectible. You like this? Let me help you out, and let's make each other happy, for lack of a better word. But I digress. Obviously, we've been talking for an hour and a half. My voice is getting hoarse.
God damn! I'm sorry, dude. I know you got the other thing at 9 o'clock. I'm a rambler, brother.
He can wait 10 minutes. It's 9:10. I'm not worried about him. He's in Australia. He needs to wake up anyway.
Shit. I'm sorry.
It's going to be fun. We're talking about the world's first glow-in-the-dark, the first fully glow-in-the-dark comic book that is being done by minting an NFT.
Wow. Okay.
This is going to be an interesting interview, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you said glow-in-the-dark comic book, I'm thinking Ghost Rider 15, the text cover.
The whole book. The whole book is in the dark, like 64 pages of it.
Holy shit!
This is and the mint is happening tomorrow for this. I think minting, and it's an NFT, so super interesting concept. But I'm going to digress right there. So if anybody's watching and wants to stay tuned in like 25 minutes, that's the plan. But obviously we've been talking for a while, and I do want to give you a chance to self-promote. Obviously, I didn't get to half of what I wanted to get to talking with you about things, but that's perfectly fine because I had a blast. And,
so did I. So did I, bro. I did. This is cool, man. Dude, you even got me to tear up for a minute. I mean, that's fucking crazy. But Unstoppable Comics, right? That's it. That's my baby. That's my 15-year-old work of love with a hell of a lot of people. And we've put together books such as Shield of the Interceptor, Dragon Storm, Unstoppable Origins, New York versus the World, and what's going on right now, definitely the Storm Chasers. You can pick up Storm Chasers issues number 1 through 8 if you're just finding out about us on Kickstarter. if you know about us and you've got the other stuff, you could pick up just issue number 8 or any other issue that you want to fill in the gaps. So you could go 1, 5, 3, 8, whatever it is. We have those options available for you to do so on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I've been saying it for almost 3 years now. I'm going to keep saying that you have to support indies, and obviously with Storm Chasers or anything else you want, you can pretty much get it off of this Kickstarter. And the way you support indies is that you actually back their Kickstarters when they're active. That is the fastest and most direct way, because indie comics do not get made without people's support and without money being thrown at it. And it's not charity because you're getting a book in return.
That's right.
So that's something to keep in mind as well. And look, you could say, look, I don't really know. This is a toss-up for me. Nothing against you, but it's $5. You could take a $5 risk if you're uncertain about it. And you know, if you like it, there's going to always be a chance for you to get the other books physically at some point.
It's $5, and that includes the shipping charge. So it's not going to be an extra, couple bucks at the end of it. Oh yeah, no, it's actually $8 and change. No. It's a $5 flat fee for the book. All right. And if you come to the cons,
I went to Starbucks today, and my Frappuccino cost more than $5. I needed it though. I found out my foot was not broken. Everybody, I thought my foot was broken. It sprained,
right.
And after I found that out, I was very happy. So I decided to go get myself a Frappuccino.
You celebrated for a minute. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Wow. So we are cheaper than a Frappuccino. Hopefully you don't sprain your foot, try to pick up one of the books.
So clearly, that's the goal there. But anyway, I digress, and obviously I'm going to promote myself here because it's my show.
Damn right.
Obviously, I have a PCW supplies code, Pop Anime Comics, 10% off. Bags and boards are expensive, guys. Just save yourself some money. It's an affiliate link. I get a commission. It helps keep this show active. Furthermore, if you'd like to directly support me, obviously I have this T-shirt. Again, I'm a Gundam fan. It's making fun of Taco Bell. It's making fun of the most interesting man in the world and Fallout all at the same time. And I have other things coming out in that line. It's on Redbubble, so you can actually pick that shirt 16 different colors, or better yet, you can put it on a mini skirt if you so choose. Yes, I am a man of the people here.
There you go, baby.
This is a service to everybody in the room here. Everybody in the room, that's the type of guy I am. If you want to put my logo and my T-shirt on a miniskirt, I approve that message. Also, these are remnants from my Kickstarter up on eBay right now. So you can pick that thing up. And I only have like 45 of these left. And my partner, which is DJ Croft, he's a cosplayer. He's an up-and-coming cosplayer. Obviously, he has a bunch left too. So if you want to order from DJ, he could sign it for you if he has any of them left. He was just a guest at Wizard World, and he's gaining followers every day. And then I have my own exclusive metal cards, which is this. And while I like to hang out with her, I do not want to wake up next to her with a knife in her hand. Hey. So these are limited to 50, and some of them are already gone. So obviously, I think I have like 42 of them left. And those are on eBay, along with a variety of other comics and other cool stuff I have, and some really cool books. And I have books that date back to the 80s all the way to books that came out 2 weeks ago that are going for 60, 70 bucks. So obviously that's all there. All that stuff supports the show. If you would like, you could buy me a coffee. If you'd like to send me free comics, I am more than happy to do that too. I like free digital comics. I like free physical comics. I like a thank you every once in a while. And all my social media is down there. It's Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook. YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. And yeah, I appreciate everybody checking stuff out and sharing out my interviews. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Thanks for having me, bro. This was an awesome time. I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? I appreciate the time. I appreciate the vibe that we had on the show, dude. We talked more good times that we have in comics than we did our products, and I feel that goes a long way.
No, I agree. And on that note, before we make it into a bad time, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.